DeMar DeRozan may actually be a Hall of Famer. He may actually go down as one of the best Toronto Raptors to have ever played. He may get his jersey retired there. But does that mean he'll be a Chicago Bull for the rest of this year? Let's talk about it. Listen, if you're new to the channel, it's your boy P Kid. This is the Windy City Breeze. You know what you clicked on. You know why you came. Let's just talk about it. Listen, DeMar DeRozan has been involved in a lot of different trade talks. Now, I'm not saying that the Bulls themselves have shopped him, but if you go online and you just put in DeMar DeRozan, you're going to see his name pop up sporadically within a couple of these half-cocked harebrained schemes to get someone named James Harden in the Chicago Bulls jersey. Maybe we get somebody like it's a bunch of BS. However, where there's smoke, there is fire. The one thing I've maintained and one thing I've said repetitively, if you've been watching this channel, is the simple fact that we've heard very little about DeMar DeRozan potentially being shopped is probably why he is being shopped. On top of the fact that it ultimately just makes sense. How so? Let's break this down real quick. One, the league is showing people or showing players that even if you're still productive, you may not be worth the expense. Right now, there are several people who are up for extensions and they've gotten a bag. Last one, and right now, if you look at it, Anthony Davis has gotten a record-breaking extension. Jaylen Brown has gotten a record-breaking extension. But what do you notice about these individuals? They're relatively younger than DeMar DeRozan, and they're technically of a different generation of ball player. DeMar DeRozan being more of a vet in that respect. And it's kind of weird how that happens, right? How like a 4 or 5 year, 6 year gap changes so much in the NBA. But that's considered a different generation in ball, basically when it comes down to ball. But all in all, the league is pretty much telling people, hey, we appreciate your service. We appreciate everything that you do. We love it. But are you worth max extension money at 34 for the next 4 years, tying me to you to about 38? Very few players are. LeBron James comes to mind, but if you really look at what LeBron James has done, LeBron James has gotten paid, but I don't remember him ever setting the bar or having a record-breaking contract. He's always had a contract that still paid him handsomely, but was something that was, I guess you would say, movable if need be, despite the fact that he's played majority, if not all, his contracts out, which is one thing that most, MJ stands don't give him credit for. He's played out. He's held up his end of the bargain. So, I mean, I can't fault the man. He's done good business. But the league is moving in a different direction. There's a new wave of young stars coming along, and it's time for a lot of those players to start being in the driver's seat and a lot of the older players to take a back seat. And DeMar DeRozan may find himself in that ilk. The reason why I say that is because if you look at players like Russell Westbrook has had a really interesting last 2 years. But if anyone knows basketball, and you watched him when he played by himself, I wouldn't hold the Lakers situation against him. I really wouldn't. That's a utilization thing that ultimately spearheaded into this whole negative thing in which it was like Russell Westbrook, which was wild. I mean, was he inefficient? Yeah, but he still shot better than a lot of people within the league at 45%. It's just you can clip together the lowlights, but let's clip together the highlights because he had a bunch of them as well. Well, he just signed with the Clippers for like $8 million, if I'm not mistaken. It could be less. It was a relatively low number compared to what he got his last contract, which paid him about 40 to 47 million, right? He wasn't going to get another contract like that. Now, does that mean he can't play? Does that mean he can't put you in a winning position? Does it mean that he has fallen off? I don't believe he has. Another player that finds himself in that situation, although I think it was maybe a little underhanded, but at the same time, maybe not. I'm never going to be pro organization or pro player. I'm a realist. It is what it is. I do think Daryl Morey tried to honor his agreement with James Harden. I do not believe that the market said that they wanted James Harden, and that we all know James Harden would want an extension, and I don't believe he's worth a max extension. And the league is kind of showing you that he isn't. Wherever he was going to get traded to, he wasn't going to get a max extension. But I guess that's for hoping. And that's where you have this whole fallout. Oh, damn, oh, Murray's a liar. I'm not going to be a part of any organization. Well, you may not have a choice. The new CBA is going to let you know, hey, not only are you going to be here if they decide to, but you can't go anywhere else. And if you retire, you just retire. The owners have in so many ways taken control of that aspect of the game. So what does that have to do with Demar Derozan? DeMar DeRozan only made $27 million. Will make $27 million. He's up for extension that would pay him handsomely. I think he's a $40 million player. But is he a $40 million player for 4 consecutive years? No. And there's no way for you to gauge that. Realistically, if you even look at the Bulls, there is a clear direction that the Bulls are going. We have our younger player who's gotten progressively better every season since we traded for him, and we really need to give him the go. We don't have room for another player who does relatively the same thing. We don't have room for someone to kind of challenge that. Now, this is all speculation and stuff like that, but we've all said it. We've called all these games. So you have to sit there and you have to look at it. Is there space for them both to coexist in this particular on this team? Yeah, there's space for it, but at what cost? Are you going to tie yourself to Zach and DeMar for the next 4 years at, let's say, what, nearly $100 million? Let's say 90, 100 million, right? Are you going to labor your cap for that? Are there players worth that? Absolutely. But would you take the risk on DeMar? Who knows? Now, I'm not saying he's not worth it, worth the risk. I'm just saying the league has showed us, and based off what the league has showed us, I'm going to say no. Very few players are going to get that bag that late in their career, and those players are generational talent. I'm not saying that DeMar isn't a good player, all-star player. I wouldn't say that he was a generational talent. He's one of those players that we're going to look back 10, 12 years from now or after he retires, and we're going to know him as a good player. I don't think anyone's going to sit there and say he was a great shooting guard, or he's a top 5 shooting guard, or he was a top 5 of his era. I don't know if maybe he was at one particular point, but I don't know if anyone's going to remember him as such. It's like Dominique Wilkins. Everyone remembers Dominique Wilkins for the dunks and stuff like that, but very few people remember Dominique Wilkins in that era as the stud who dropped like 25 points for 10 years straight. In fact, most new, I hate to say kids because it makes me seem so old, and I hate it when people did it to me when I was coming up. But like most people are not looking back at that, and they just know him for, oh, he had a great run, but they don't know his career and anything like that. He was a bucket. I revere him as, obviously, he's the top 50 grade, but like, would DeMar be a top 75 or top 100 grade? I don't know. Should he be? Different story. Different story. But will he get that acknowledgement for it? I don't know. But those are the type of players that get this type of reverence and things of that nature who would take you over time. There's a reason why Dame, who's not that much older, I think they're relatively around the same age, give or take a year or two, is going to still garner 4 first-round picks, a young star, stuff like that. His career, and he's already top 75 player, like his career was different. He performed, he dominated differently. I don't know if DeMar's going to get that respect. Whether or not he deserves it or not is different, but will he get it? Totally different thing. And that also plays a part into why he may be traded. It doesn't make sense to tie yourself down to him for 4 to 5 years if you ultimately think he's not going to garner that type of respect. His trade value may be a little too low, but at $27 million compared to what people are making now, he's a very valuable piece if you make the decision. And right now, if you look at what the Bulls are doing, the Bulls have anchored their big man. They've anchored their shooting guard. We're still working on this point guard situation. And you're trying to let your first round pick, fourth pick of the draft, coming to his own, you may not have room for DeMar to be DeMar. He may be the Tobias Harris of the Chicago Bulls, which is like wild to say. That's a really, really wild statement. Jesus, I don't know if I can stay with that. But ultimately, that's what I think. So realistically, this is a long way of saying I took you the scenic route on this one. Do I think he'll end up being traded? Absolutely. I don't think he gets a contract extension. Does he deserve to get paid? I do think he deserves to get paid. Do I think he will? No. I think Russell Westbrook deserved to get way more than he got. I thought it was really disrespectful for him to be forced into that situation. Really disrespectful for what he's done for the game of basketball, what he can still do. But the league is telling us what it is. But I want to hear your thoughts, man. I want to hear whether or not you think these narratives are going to stick. This is not going to be he's going to get traded here. I don't know. I don't want him to be. But from a business perspective, I can see it making sense. Especially now when you have all of these 3-team, 4-team trades that kind of give. I saw a package that would actually give us younger talent with more shooting. It's like, if you're not going to extend him, then you have to trade him. Because now no matter what happens this season, you're not going to be able to duplicate it because he's not going to be here if you don't extend him. So you have to do something. And that's the situation the Bulls find them in. And it's really unfortunate because we really, really never got to see what this team could be, just time frame and things of that nature. But I can't fault AK for making a move and being aggressive. I like what he's done since he's been here. And I really like Demar Derozan. I really hope he does stay a Bull. I hope they find a way to really make it work for him to be here. But I highly doubt he signs an extension. And I highly doubt he even wants to stay in Chicago toward the end of his career, which is ultimately where this is shaping up to be. But again, I want your thoughts. Whether it's up, whether it's hate, put it in the comments. I'll be in there with you. Till next time. Peace.